Richard, first of all, thanks for putting in the submission, and as usual, as the Minister has been helping us. I was out at your place, learned a lot. I think a few things that needs to be grasped in this, that a lot of people think, you know, that they're carbon neutral within a city. Well, the only people that can solve a lot of this is the farmer, and I think that's the first thing they've got to start realising, that the minute they put open their eyes in the morning in a city, there's nothing they can do about it, and we're not blaming them, but it's others that have to try and offset their problematic experience, be it sewerage that I talked about earlier, where does it go, be it the sludge from water, be it electricity that's generated and all of that. It's all done in the countryside, every single bit of it. So I think an appreciation, first of all, should come from the farmer communities who are willing to put their shoulder to the wheel to offset not alone their own situations, but those living in the urban areas that are not able to do anything about it. In relation to the mixed species grasses, we were out there, Richard, and they were going well for you. Has more research come in on them in the line of that you were saying at the time you were doing research in, say, the length that they would last? There was also a question mark. I saw it actually in one of the magazines on farming, where some farmers believed that the butter fat might be down a bit. Is there anything in on the likes of that? You mentioned before when you were in that we need the LIDAR system to basically count what we have and count where we're going. I think the OPW is starting something this year. You mentioned at the time that it needed to be so many square metres each photo to make sure that it was right. You might just remind us of that, because we as a committee will probably be writing on that. And in relation to crops, do you do anything, Richard, on, say, the different crops we see now where, look at the likes of wheat and that is problematic? Do you do research on part of that for the farming community? And it was interesting to hear your analysis on carbon, that the farming community, as I believe myself, needs to have the benefit of basically their own farm, that someone else isn't whipping carbon credits away from them. Is there much research done? I know that there's some research done on forestry and that, and at the moment we're in a situation where there's more forestry being cut than what's being grown. Now, like, the state can talk all the like about the situation, but the problem is that we have a dysfunctional department for a number of years that has let this deteriorate, and the heart has gone out of it, because mention forestry now to farmers that run away from you, because all they'll tell you is you need paperwork as long, you know, a mile long. Do you feel, is another question, I'm watching farmers at the moment, if you want to apply for forestry licence, it's all EIA, appropriate assessment, screening out. It's all EU bureaucracy that is now coming in, and we've seen it in Turlough, and we see it, farmers are seeing it day by day. Is EU bureaucracy destroying a lot of this that's actually, you know, banging back against the climate, or resolving some climate issues, because farmers have walked away from it with the stuff that's there? Thank you.
Well, I'll take the last one. I leave the last one at the end, but there's a couple of things I wanted to pick up on. I'll take them in kind of a different order. And basically, first of all, in terms of the butterfat, I haven't seen any work on that. But again, we will work on with Teagasc on that. That's fairly simple, because you know, you can do the analysis and follow it through, but it's not something we would have seen or expected. I think in terms of the persistency, as you said, Michael, that we have I'm not overly concerned about the persistency because of the performance we're getting, and I think the persistency is coming through. It's more getting farmers to adopt it and to change their management practices slightly. In terms of crops, again, I think there's a real opportunity in crops, and I think there's, you know, speaking to people in the last while, in actual fact, where I would be focusing on is something like beans and faba beans in particular, because they're leguminous crops, and within a good rotation, it would be very valuable, because not alone do we need you know, cereals like wheat and barley and maize to be replaced, but we need, you know, we also, it would be very valuable to have protein sources. And I commend the legislator on bringing through the, you know, the crop incentives. It's going to be tight this year, but I think it's something we should continue with. But overall, what I would really like to see, you know, if someone was to say to me, what's the ask? The ask is a carbon soil analysis across the country and a LiDAR analysis across the country to the requisite level, and that be available to industry, not just to Devonish, not just to farmers, to industry. It is a phenomenal resource to farming, because what it does is it measures what we have in the bank. It shows us what we own, what we have, what we've worked for, as against guesswork or otherwise. And to be fair to the Northern Ireland Executive, they have done that, and I think it is an incredible thing. And I think as an island, it would set this island apart. It would place us, you know, it would be very, very strong, very definitive statement for us as an island, as a food-producing island, to say we are taking this seriously. We are at the forefront of delivering sustainable solutions, and we will build from here. So to me, that is, you know, that would be, talk about investing in future generations, you know, talk about investing in rural economies. You know, it's something that, you know, it's something that you would, you know, a little bit like some of the things that have been done in the past. People look back and say, well, wasn't that the right thing to do? It is absolutely the right thing to do, and particularly as we see the headwinds that are in front of us around carbon. In terms of bureaucracy, my fear on bureaucracy is, if we don't have strong policy, strong farming leadership, strong, positive, proactive leadership on this, then bureaucratic solutions will be imposed on us from outside. Much worse. You know, we have historical, we have things that we can learn from in the past, and maybe some of what you're talking about around how we did our forestry or whatever. But what has happened, you know, in terms of peat, you know, was the picture was painted for us well in advance, but we didn't take the proactive, positive steps that I think we can now with this. And my concern is that, you know, you talk about bureaucracy. Bureaucracy might be worse than where we are, but when you're not allowed to do something, no matter how bureaucratic it is, that's the worst case scenario. And as I said, we have the soils, we actually have the climate and the temperatures, and we have an island here which has the potential to be baselined to deliver as a starting point as to how we can deliver sustainable solutions, and how farmers can work together with themselves, with one another, and with their communities, and also with their processors, with their co-ops, to really build from the ground up a sustainable food production system. The world is changing at an incredible rate, and as I said to Senator Higgins, the pressures and challenges that are being exerted on very, very large food producing companies around their ESG requirements, they're not just commitments, they're requirements now, are going to have massive impact, and we can capitalise on that.